what about industries that are having a harder time adapting? Any examples of sectors facing big challenges?
The report points to manufacturing and production as a sector that's really struggling. They're being hit hard by automation, which is leading to job losses in some areas.
We talked about administrative and clerical roles being automated, but this is happening on the factory floor as well.
Yep, and it's creating a real need for workers to learn new skills and move into different roles within the industry. Instead of operating machinery, they might need to learn how to program or maintain robots.
So it's not necessarily about losing jobs completely. It's about shifting into roles that need different skills. It's about evolution within the industry.
Exactly. And to make this transition work, the report really stresses the need for close collaboration between companies, governments, and educational institutions.
Sounds like manufacturing and production is a perfect example of needing that multi-stakeholder approach. What about other industries? Any other interesting insights?
Well, one thing the report emphasizes is the increasing focus on sustainability across all sectors. This means there's a growing demand for green skills in a ton of different industries, from energy and utilities to agriculture, forestry, and fishing.
So having skills in things like renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, even something as specific as installing solar panels, those are going to be valuable in the job market of the future.
Absolutely. And it's not just about technical skills. It's about having a good understanding of environmental issues and sustainability.
It sounds like the future of work needs people with a blend of tech know-how and a deep understanding of the challenges facing our planet. It's a fascinating combination.
It is, and it really highlights how important continuous learning and adaptation are. No matter what industry you're in, you need to be open to change and actively develop skills that will be in demand.
So it's not about trying to pick the right industry or job. It's about being adaptable and constantly evolving. It's about being a lifelong learner.
Exactly. And speaking of staying ahead of the curve, let's talk about a topic that's really grabbed everyone's attention lately: AI. What does the report tell us about how companies are actually using AI in their businesses and what their plans are for the future?
We've talked about AI in general, but let's get specific. How are companies actually using this technology?
The report shows a mix of excitement and caution. Companies see the potential of AI to transform their businesses, but they're also running into some challenges putting it into practice, and they're thinking about how it might affect their workforce.
So it's not as simple as just flipping a switch and suddenly every company is powered by AI.
Definitely not. There are a few main strategies companies are using as AI gets more powerful and common.
What's the most common approach? What are most companies doing right now?
The most popular strategy is reskilling their current employees to work with AI. 77% of companies are doing this.
So instead of replacing humans with robots, they're training their employees to use AI as a tool.
Exactly. It's about augmenting human capabilities with AI, not getting rid of humans altogether.
Makes sense. It's about collaboration, not competition. What other strategies are companies using?
Another popular approach is hiring new people with specific AI skills. 69% of companies are doing this.
So they're looking for AI specialists, data scientists, machine learning engineers.
Those roles are definitely hot right now. But it's not just about technical skills. Companies also need people who can take those AI insights and turn them into real business value.
So they need people who can bridge the gap between the tech world and the business world.
Exactly. The report also mentions a more drastic approach, though it's less common, completely changing their organization to go after new business opportunities created by AI.
So they're not just using AI to improve what they're already doing, they're using it to create brand new products and services.
Exactly. It's about thinking big and seeing AI as a way to drive innovation and growth.
It sounds like companies are approaching AI in lots of different ways, from dipping their toes in the water to diving headfirst into the deep end.
That's a great way to put it. And this variety of approaches is reflected in the challenges they're facing.
Speaking of challenges, what are the biggest obstacles for companies trying to implement AI?
The report highlights a few key barriers. One of the biggest is a lack of clear vision among managers and leaders. They might understand that AI is important, but they're not sure how to make it part of their overall business strategy.
So it's not enough to just jump on the AI bandwagon because it's trendy. They need a plan, a roadmap for how to use it.
Exactly. And not having that clear vision can make people in the company resistant to change. Employees might worry about their jobs or just be unsure how AI will affect their day-to-day work.
So communication and transparency are key. Companies need to address those concerns directly.
Absolutely. Open communication builds trust, and makes the transition smoother. Now, beside those leadership and cultural challenges, there are also practical obstacles. Cost is a big one. AI products and services can be expensive, especially for smaller businesses. And then there's the issue of customization. A lot of AI solutions are off the shelf, and they might not fit the specific needs of a company or industry.
So it's about finding the right AI solution that works for their specific needs and budget.
Precisely. And finally, the report talks about the regulations around AI and data privacy. They can be complicated and expensive. This is a big concern for companies, especially those operating in multiple countries with different laws.
So navigating the legal landscape is a hurdle in itself. It's not as easy as just buying a robot and plugging it in.
Definitely not. Then speaking of robots, I think it's time to talk about automation and its impact on jobs.
It's the big question for a lot of people. Is automation going to lead to mass unemployment?
Well, the report offers some interesting insights, but it's important to remember that the future of work isn't set in stone.
I like that. It's not a guarantee that robots will take over and leave us all without jobs.
Exactly. And the report highlights that the relationship between automation and employment is complicated. It's not a simple equation of robots in, humans out.
Okay, so let's break down that complexity. What are some of the nuances that the report brings to light?
First, it's important to differentiate between automation and augmentation. Automation means replacing human tasks with machines, while augmentation means using technology to make humans better at what they do.
We mentioned that before, but it's such an important distinction.
Absolutely. And the report suggests that while automation is happening, it's not necessarily leading to widespread job losses. In many cases, it's actually creating new jobs and opportunities.
So it's not just about jobs being destroyed, it's also about new jobs being created.
Exactly. And these new jobs often need a different set of skills, which is why reskilling and upskilling are so important.
So instead of being afraid of automation, we should focus on adapting to it and learning the skills that will be in demand. We should embrace change and see it as an opportunity.
I like that. The report also highlights the importance of humans and machines working together. It's not about robots versus humans. It's about figuring out how they can be effective partners.
We talked earlier about how 33% of work tasks are predicted to be done through this human-machine partnership by 2030. Can you give us some real-world examples of what that might look like?
Sure. Imagine a doctor using AI to analyze medical images and help them diagnose patients. That frees up their time to focus on talking to and caring for their patients. Or a financial analyst using AI to go through huge amounts of market data. That helps them make better investment decisions.
So AI is a tool to make human expertise and decision-making better, not to replace humans completely.
Exactly. And the report says this kind of collaboration can lead to more efficiency, productivity, and even more innovation.
So robots aren't just taking our jobs, they're helping us do our jobs better.
I like that. It's important to remember that because there's so much fear and anxiety around automation. The report reminds us that we have the power to shape the future of work through the choices we make today.
Choices like investing in education and training, creating a culture of lifelong learning, and embracing the possibilities of humans and technology working together.
Exactly. Those are the keys to a future of work that works for everyone.
We've talked about the future of work being this collaborative effort that definitely includes the role of public policy. What can governments do to make things smoother as the world of work changes so much?
Well, the report looks at a few key areas where policy could have a real impact. One of the biggest things employers are asking for is more support for reskilling and upskilling programs. They want more funding and easier access. They see it as essential for getting their workforce ready for what's coming.
That makes a lot of sense. Companies can only do so much by themselves, especially when we're talking about something as big as this. But besides just spending more money, what else can governments do?
Education is another really important area. Employers are urging governments to step in and change how public education works. They want schools to teach skills that are actually relevant for the jobs of the future.
Right. It's about making sure what students learn in school will actually be useful in the real world, the world of 2030 and beyond, not just the skills that were needed years ago.
Exactly. It's about making education future-proof, so students graduate with the skills they need to succeed in this new world. And speaking of future-proofing, the report also says we need more flexibility in labor market regulations, things like rules around remote work, immigration, and even pension plans.
It sounds like they want regulations that can adapt to new ways of working. But are there any policy recommendations that are specifically about protecting workers?
Definitely. The report suggests a few things governments could do that would really help employees. One example is government-funded caregiver programs.
Oh, that's interesting. How would that fit into the future of work?
Well, think about working parents or anyone who has to take care of family members. It would give them some relief from trying to balance their work and family life. It could make it easier for them to stay in the workforce.
That seems like it would benefit both employees and employers.
Exactly. And the report found something else related to this. Employers are really starting to understand the importance of employee well-being. It's actually become one of their top priorities. They want to make sure they can attract and keep talented people.
Yeah, that makes sense. The pandemic really showed everyone how important mental health and work-life balance are.
For sure. These days, people want more than just a paycheck. They want to work for companies that actually care about them, companies that have a supportive environment.
So things like flexible work schedules and good mental health benefits, those are becoming must-haves for attracting and keeping the best employees.
Exactly. And we can't forget about diversity, equity, and inclusion. The report makes it clear. DEI initiatives are essential for businesses to be successful.
We talked about that before, but let's go a little deeper. What are companies actually doing to make DEI a reality?
The report mentions a few key things. Targeted recruitment programs to attract people from underrepresented groups, comprehensive DEI training for everyone, including managers. And we talked about skills-based hiring earlier.
It seems like companies are starting to get it. A diverse and inclusive workforce isn't just about checking a box. It's actually good for business.
For sure. A diverse workforce brings more perspectives and ideas, and that leads to more innovation and better decision-making.
Okay, now for the topic everyone loves to talk about, money. With all these changes happening, what's going to happen to wages?
The report has some interesting things to say about that. Apparently, more than half of employers around the world plan to increase how much they spend on wages between now and 2030.
Wow, that's a big deal. What's causing that? Is it just about keeping up with inflation?
The report mentions two main reasons. First, they need to make sure wages stay competitive with how productive workers are and how well they perform. Second, companies are facing more competition to attract and keep the best employees, especially those with the skills everyone needs.
So it's a tight labor market, and businesses have to offer competitive salaries to get the best people. Sounds like it's a good time to be a worker with in-demand skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not just about overall raises. It's also about how those wages are determined. The report really emphasizes the importance of skills-based pay. People with those hot skills can expect to earn more.
So investing in those skills is a smart financial decision. Staying ahead of the game is crucial.
Exactly. Now, the report also has some insights specific to different regions and industries. They're pretty interesting. We're going to dive into those a little.
Absolutely. Let's start with regions. Are there any parts of the world that are facing unique challenges or opportunities when it comes to the future of work?
One that stands out is Eastern Asia and Oceania. They're dealing with both aging populations and fewer people entering the workforce. It's putting a lot of pressure on their labor markets.
Right. We talked about how those demographic shifts are a major factor. It sounds like this region is really feeling the effects.
It's a big issue for them. Employers in countries like Japan and South Korea are using more automation and robotics to fill the gaps in their workforce.
So they're using technology to deal with labor shortages.
Exactly. And they're also investing a lot in reskilling and upskilling their current employees. They want to make sure they have the skills to work in these increasingly automated environments.
It sounds like they have some tough challenges, but they're finding solutions. What about other regions? Any others that stand out?
Latin America and the Caribbean have a different set of challenges. They're struggling with skills gaps in their workforce. And they also have issues with organizational culture and outdated regulations.
So it's not just about having enough workers. It's about having workers with the right skills and a work environment that supports them.
Exactly. To overcome these challenges, employers in that region are focusing on upskilling programs, automating some tasks, and actively recruiting people with new skills. They're also trying hard to attract top talent to their industries.
Seems like each region has its own unique situation, and they're adapting in different ways. Now, what about industries? Are there any that seem really well prepared for this future of work? Or the opposite, any that are facing big disruption?
The report analyzes 22 different industry groups.
Yeah.
And like you'd expect, some are adapting to change more easily than others.
Give us some examples. Which industries seem to be leading the way with new technologies and reskilling their workers?
The information and technology services sector is definitely in the lead. They're adopting things like AI, robotics, and even quantum computing super fast.
Makes sense that the people creating these technologies would also be the first to use them. What about the skills they need? Anything surprising there?
Besides the technical skills you'd expect, like AI, cybersecurity, and programming, they're also looking for people who are resilient, flexible, and adaptable.
So even in a tech-heavy field like IT, those human skills are still really important.
Absolutely. They need people who can think critically, adapt to constant change, solve problems creatively, and work well on teams.
What about industries that are having more trouble adapting?